let me show you this, guys. Let me show you this. This will clear it up. It's in my book. Actually, no, it's in my book. It's in my book. Why?
That's what I'm saying is taking over the note, not.
They're non-assumable mortgages these days, unless you're a vet. And unless you're a vet, that's the only one that can be assumable.
And then the buyer
You're
has to pay
saying
that as well.
it's not assumable
Yes,
as a,
exactly
as
right.
a payer, but if you want to buy the note from mortgage,
You could buy the debt.
right.
Yeah. So, page 46 of my book. This will help clear stuff up. So there's something called perfect title or fee simple title, where it's completely owned, free, and clear, where you have no encumbrances. And so a perfect title is when there's nothing there. It's just you and the land. That's it. What is called a split title is where you now have a deed of trust on the property and a promissory note. So you've now split the deed. Half of it owns to the bank. The bank owns the liability aspect of it. They have the debt. You have the responsibility to pay back that debt. So that's what a split deed is. So you have the deed of trust is you, and then you have the promissory note to the bank. And so deed of trust is ownership. And so what you're talking about is going to the bank who owns the debt, who just gets the payments, and saying to the person who has the debt, hey, I'll buy this property. They can't.
I meant assuming the debt. But
Yeah, but they can't assume, you can't even do that on most mortgages now these days.
Well, and even if you could, they're going to make you finance it.
Yeah.
They're not going to just like, okay, here.
Take over my payments.
Yeah, and then they're going to charge you a higher interest rate.
They haven't done that since the 80s, and those were all FHA loans, and the FHA are no longer assumable. The only one that's a truly assumable loan is a VA loan, and you have to be a vet yourself, and you have to qualify to take over those existing payments in play. And the reason they do that is not because they're so super cool and kind, it's because most of the vets get transferred out, and they don't have enough time to sell their house, and so what they do is they just swap their houses with another vet. It's for ease.
Well, and it's part of the real estate
Practicality.
California as well.
But
All that.
CalVet does it as well, yeah. But I own a property that is a VA loan in South Carolina. The vet moved and kept paying on it. It's like they're sick and tired of this. So I bought it subject to. But I bought the property. He deeded it over to me, and I just kept on paying on the debt.
And that's a loan contract.
No, I actually transferred title. So, but I sold it to someone else on a land contract. We're going to get to on these terms coming up. So I find out what their plan is. What is their plan with this property? Because without me knowing their plan, I really can't do anything.
Right.
I have to know what their plan is. So what's their motivation, greed or fear? So if it's greed, I always start with I'd like to give you some money for the property. If it's fear, like they say, if they shoot that down I don't want anything for my property. Banks can have it. I try to hit the fear button. Well, I like to save you your credit. Sometimes they don't even care. They're already in foreclosure. The credit's shot. And keep you from having a huge tax consequence or deficiency judgment against you for abandoning the property. So if I can't hit them with the greed, I'm going to hit them with the fear. If I can't hit them with the fear, I'm really working with someone who doesn't even care. Sometimes people are just so far gone that they just don't even care.
The answer is that last thing on the list. No one to walk away.
No one to walk away. That's right. Yeah.
What's the timeline on the credit getting hit for foreclosure?
After 90 days, when the notice of default is filed, your credit has taken the biggest hit already.
After the 90 days.
After 90 days. After you hit the 8-month or the 6-month mark, this notice of trustee sale, anything after 6 months of non-payment is not going to, your credit's already taken a dive. So when you get a foreclosure on your record, the foreclosure is not going to, it might drop you a couple more points, even more, but the thing with the foreclosure is it sticks with you for 10 years. It's on your record for 10 years. Here's the crazy thing, they changed the laws recently as well. Bankruptcies, it used to be you can get a loan within 2 years. No, it's now 7 years. Foreclosures, 10 years. They're screwing people.
That was just
Short sales, 4 years
The foreclosure part, that was just fairly recent then?
in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I know, what, 06, I had a foreclosure in Lincoln. And 3 years after that, I was able to buy.
Yeah, this happened, I think 2015 is when they changed it to keep people from walking away from the properties.
So that just means more for us.
Exactly.
Almost
Yeah.
4 years?
Short sale. Yep. So sometimes, Gwen and I and Rusty, when I was in Los Angeles, in Disneyland, I found a dude, in fact, a code officer, code enforcement guy from Visalia, because I found a property that had code enforcement issues and we took care of it. I said, do you have any other ones? And he gave me one of them. So I called up. The guy couldn't get a hold of him. So then I texted his wife back and forth. The wife told me everything about the house. I never was able to get with the dude. You guys got with the dude. He's on board. He's ready to go. The wife's like, screw him. I don't care about the house. It can go to foreclosure. I'm like, this is like an ideal property. They both walked away. They're getting a divorce. She's filed bankruptcy. The house is, what, like a 3,000 square foot home, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, or 3-bedroom, 4-bath, or something like that, with the pool. Nice property that very easily we can turn this property and make a nice grip of change on it, you know, some good coin. But she is just not willing to do anything because it would benefit him and his credit. I'm like, no, it's going to do both your credits.
He won't respond now either.
He won't either now?
No, not at all.
See,
Since his wife's off board, he gave up and just quit.
he ran away. Yeah.
It's crazy how people will do that.
And so people
Yeah.
they'll do that, and they just don't. I mean, he's a vet too, so he's going to lose any future VA eligibility.
Yeah, I told him,
Yeah.
and he doesn't.
And they just don't care. They're very short-sighted. So sometimes you just got to walk away.
Real quick, you just said something that I didn't know about. So a VA, veteran, if he goes in bankruptcy or foreclosure, he's not allowed to.
He lost his VA eligibility
Yep,
Indefinitely.
until it's repaid.
Until it's repaid.
Wow.
Yep.
So can we take over the VA loans just like the Bank of America loan or something?
Yeah, we do all the time.
We do?
Yes, we do.
How do we find it when it's in foreclosure if they taken it back yet?
It's not, because the
Just
property's
like
not on-
anything else.
It's not on property radar. The property's not even on there.
He's not into because he's in bankruptcy. It's not in foreclosure.
No, it's another one.
Oh.
Another one's got the deed
Really
sticker
nice
on it
house.
that they've secured it.
Did they already go to foreclosure?
I don't know how to tell. It doesn't say on the paperwork on the window.
Well, no. You look it up on the property, the county records.
County records.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not on radar.
It's vacant.
It might be already an REO.
Right.
It might already be REO. Real estate owned.
Show up, though. I mean, I've had
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
the VAs.
You mentioned that the wife in that particular case
Mhm.
filed bankruptcy,
She did. Yeah.
and you said that you were still able to do something. What is that? Can you explain that, or?
What do you mean?
Well, you've got a divorcing couple.
Oh, yeah, okay.
One files bankruptcy, one doesn't.
Yes. Yeah.
And you were like, well, we can still do something, or no?
Yeah, we totally can. So in this particular case, she's insolvent. So it's a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And in Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you surrender your property. So when you surrender your property in bankruptcy, all that means is to the lender is that, hey, I've surrendered this property. I'm not going to fight you on it. If you want to come and take it, come and take it. If you don't, you do what you want with it. And then she's also absolved herself of any liability financially. So they can't come after her and hit her with a tax consequence or something like that.
Because
You
of our
don't have to
bankruptcy.
get her off the title when you.
No, you do have to get it off title. So what I would do, because she surrendered the property, is I would wait. I do one of two things. I would go to her bankruptcy trustee, and I'd have him. He can, as the trustee, because he's mitigating that entire situation. He can go ahead and he can sell that asset because that's his responsibility is to sell an asset to get profit for whatever he can to help liquidate assets to pay off creditors is what they're going to do. So I go to the bankruptcy trustee if there's any equity in the property and say, hey, look, I'd be willing to take over the payments on this and give this much money to reinstate or end up above that to go ahead and pay off any kind of creditors. And so either go that way or wait to this is the easier way, is wait till the bankruptcy is completely done and discharged. At that point, they still are on title because the bank hasn't foreclosed yet. They can then sign over the deed and you can do stuff like that. So I've bought properties out of bankruptcy after they've been discharged. I've been able to take over properties that way.
Thank you for that.
Does that help?
Yeah, I have one, just that scenario, and I didn't know what to do with the BK.
Yeah,
And so I
they're
just-
beautiful
I just
properties.
Set him down and went, okay, I don't know what to do with this, because he was asking me to give him money right then and there, and I said.
You got to find out where he's
I
at. Yeah.
know I can't do that, because if I give you money now, I don't get anything. This is
Yep.
gone to the trustee of the bankruptcy.
Is he in Chapter 13?
I don't know which one it was, he just said bankruptcy.
Okay.
How would that change the?
So there's a difference between bankruptcies. So there's a liquidation bankruptcy, which is a Chapter 7. Again, guys, all of that is in this book as well. And a 13, which is called a wage earner's bankruptcy. And a wage earner's bankruptcy is you're employed and you've made a payment plan. And that's like a 5 to 7 year program. So if you plan on keeping the property, if they're wage earners, they're more likely going to keep the property. They're trying to work out some kind of deal with the bank. Here's the sad part about wage earner bankruptcies. It breaks my heart. is they will get into these properties and they're thinking that I'm paying this trustee, and this trustee is making payments to all my debt obligations. But what they don't realize is that all the trustee is doing is paying the mortgage company the back payments. So there's a payment plan for the,
Current or future.
So they never get current.
they never get current. They're thinking that as long as I continue to pay the trustee, I'm okay. So once they get out of bankruptcy, guess what happens? Boom, guess what? Hey, we're foreclosing again because now you haven't paid for 3 years. Foreclosure. It happens all the time. Someone dropped the ball as far as disclosing that information, and they go through these foreclosures. And so they've gone through bankruptcy, and they're thinking like, oh yeah, I gotta keep my house, only to get smacked with a notice of default as soon as they get out of discharged.
So what do you do with those?
They have to sell. They can't do that. So I buy those properties, I bring them current if they're not too far behind. Yeah.
So I have another question. So I've heard of this thing where the bank files to, go ahead and continue foreclosure when somebody files bankruptcy. I don't know the exact terms for
The
it.
surrender. It's when they surrender the property.
Is it a surrender or is it a stay or stipulation or something?
They could do a deed in lieu, but that would stop the foreclosure process.
I've heard that it stops the bankruptcy process. They say, we're gonna go ahead and they ask the trustee to allow them to continue.
Oh, yes. So, okay.
Foreclosure.
Okay, yeah, that does happen. So what you're talking about, so what a bankruptcy actually is a bankruptcy is an automatic stay. It stops. First off, let me back up here, guys. I'm not a bankruptcy attorney. I'm not giving any kind of legal advice.
Your experience.
I'm just sharing my own personal experience and what I've researched and what is found in my book.
My opinion.
This is my opinion. So, with that said, bankruptcy is an automatic stay from all legal proceedings.
Right.
Stops, puts the skids on the, puts the brakes. And with a bankruptcy, if they have abused bankruptcy, or they're insolvent and they're continuing to go with the bankruptcy because it's an automatic stay, they're trying to just continue to skirt this issue, the bank will then file a countersuit and say, no, you know what? We want to have this property excluded from the bankruptcy because the asset obviously is not recoverable in this particular situation because they're insolvent. Let us exclude this. We'll continue with this separate from the bankruptcy, and sometimes a trustee will do that, yes.